The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the bedroom. The air was thick with the scent of, and the remnants of our wild night lay scattered across the room. My husband's clothes were strewn haphazardly on the floor, a testament to the passion that had consumed us. I sighed, stretching lazily in bed, my body still humming with residual pleasure. "Hey, babe," I called out, expecting to hear his from the bathroom, but there was only silence. Confused, I got up and padded across the room, peeking into the bathroom. Empty. Strange. He usually never left without saying goodbye. I shrugged it off, figuring he must have stepped out for a quick errand. With a yawn, I began gathering the dirty clothes, planning to toss them in the washer before starting my day. As I bundled the last of his shirts, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from my boss, Claire. "Claire, hey, can you come by the office early today? We need to finalize those reports ASAP." I groaned inwardly, but replied with a sure thing. Claire was demanding, but she was also fair, and I respected her immensely. Plus, she had been understanding about my recent personal issues, so I owed her this favor. With a resigned sigh, I grabbed the pile of clothes and headed downstairs. The washing machine whirred to life as I loaded it, and I glanced at the clock. I had just enough time to shower and change before heading to the office. As I stood under the steaming water, I couldn't help but replay the events of the previous night. My husband and I had indulged in a passionate evening, pushing boundaries and exploring new desires. It had been exhilarating, but now reality was setting in, and I needed to focus on work. Drying off quickly, I rummaged through my closet, searching for something professional yet comfortable. My fingers brushed against a familiar fabric, my husband's favorite suit jacket. I hesitated for a moment, then slipped it on, enjoying the way it hugged my curves. It felt empowering, somehow. I paired it with a simple blouse and skirt, feeling confident and ready to tackle whatever challenges awaited me at the office. Checking my reflection one last time, I grabbed my purse and keys, making a mental note to apologize to my husband later for borrowing his jacket without asking. The drive to the office was uneventful, and I arrived earlier than expected. Claire's assistant waved me in as soon as I stepped off the elevator, leading me straight to her office. "Good morning, Claire," I greeted, stepping inside. Claire looked up from her desk, her eyes narrowing slightly as they took in my outfit. "Morning, Emily. You look different today." I smiled nervously, smoothing down the lapels of the jacket. "Yeah, I borrowed one of my husband's jackets. Figured it would be more comfortable for a long day at the office." Claire's gaze softened, and she nodded approvingly. "It suits you. Now, let's get to work." We dove into the reports, our conversation focused and efficient. Hours passed in what felt like minutes, and before I knew it, the afternoon sun was streaming through the windows. Claire leaned back in her chair, stretching her arms above her head. "You know, Emily," she said, her tone casual, "you should consider wearing men's clothing more often. It really brings out your confidence." I laughed lightly, shaking my head. "Maybe I will. It's definitely a change from my usual wardrobe." Claire's smile widened, and she stood up, walking around her desk to stand beside me. "Here, try this on," she suggested, handing me a crisp white shirt from her own collection. Curious, I accepted the shirt and slipped it on over my blouse. The fabric was soft against my skin, and the fit was surprisingly flattering. Claire's eyes sparkled with approval as she adjusted the collar for me. Perfect, she declared. Now you look like you belong here. I blushed, thanking her for the compliment. We returned to our work, but the atmosphere in the room had shifted subtly. There was an undercurrent of tension, a shared secret between us that neither of us acknowledged outright. As the day wore on, I found myself growing increasingly aware of Claire's presence. Her every touch, every glance, seemed charged with meaning. By the time we wrapped up the final report, I was practically vibrating with anticipation. Claire closed the folder with a decisive snap, then turned to me, her expression serious. Emily, I need to ask you something. My heart skipped a beat. Yes? Would you mind if I borrowed some of your husband's clothes? Just for tonight. I have a special event, and I think they would be perfect. I blinked in surprise, taken aback by the request. Sure. I don't see why not. They're just clothes. Claire's relief was palpable. Thank you. I promise I'll take good care of them. We exchanged a few more pleasantries before I finally left the office, my mind racing with thoughts of what had just transpired. As I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had happened, though I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. When I arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. I called out for my husband, but there was no answer. Puzzled, I checked the kitchen and living room, finding no sign of him. Then, as I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, I heard a noise, a faint rustling coming from inside the room. My pulse quickened as I approached the door, my hand trembling slightly as I reached for the knob. Slowly, I pushed it open, my breath catching in my throat as I took in the scene before me. There, standing in the middle of our bedroom, was my husband, and beside him, dressed in my husband's clothes, was Claire. Their eyes met mine simultaneously, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. The air was thick with tension, each of us holding our breath as the reality of the situation sank in. Emily, Claire began, her voice shaky. I can explain. But before she could finish, my husband stepped forward, his face a mask of confusion and anger. What the hell is going on here?